Beer. Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Well, no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, as always joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner,
and our from entertainer,
Wayne Baker.
Now today we are out and about on location again, but we are in the heart of Bucks County. We are at Bucks County Brewery, which is in Pipersville, if I am reading correctly, right? Now we have with us Mr.
Andrew Neckel.
Andrew, thank you so much for welcoming us out here tonight. Now I know there's some bigger things going on tonight, so what is happening tonight?
Well, every Friday night we have our Friday night food truck and live music. So tonight we'll be having 2 food trucks and a local band playing. And it's been very well attended and pretty exciting stuff.
Awesome. Very cool. I'm excited. So we're recording a little earlier than we normally do so we can get out and take part in all of it. I'm very excited to get out there. But in that vein, let's do this. All right, so the news today is going to be ad-libbed only because I forgot to email myself the link for the article that I had, but I remember the gist of it. So,
news from memory?
Yeah, if I get any of it wrong, I apologize.
I'll correct you.
Your journalistic integrity never ceases to amaze me.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Actually, I remember it because it's something that when I saw the headline, I was very, very, very excited about, and somehow over the past few recordings, I forgot to mention it. I was that excited. But apparently, in at least one location in the United States this summer, Taco Bell will start serving alcohol, including beer. And
Corona.
Corona is
More than likely,
yeah. It's. I don't think it was officially said by Taco Bell in any of their press releases, but the newest location that's going to be doing it is going to be in Chicago. And I think I saw earlier that one in San Francisco is going to be doing it too. But the one in Chicago, somebody through a Freedom of Information request or something got documents from Chicago City Hall about this new location that they're going to have two beer taps. One's going to be Corona. The other is going to be a local brewing. Now in Chicago, I'm assuming Goose Island, perhaps. Which would be kind of cool. Now, I don't know how well that would go with burritos, but...
I don't know. A good IPA would go really well with some spicy tacos.
Wayne, have you ever paired your burritos?
Burritos, no. But I think any beer that would pair well with Taco Bell would be one that would overpower the flavor of the Taco Bell.
Hey, I like Taco Bell. I like Taco Bell a lot.
I really only like Taco Bell after about 5 beers, so that works out well that they serve beer there.
Yeah. Very good drunk food.
Now, of course, they won't be serving it through the drive-thru, which, I mean, should have gone without saying, but some people in the comments of these stories I was reading were actually surprised by that.
Well, there are states that have like drive-through liquor stores and stuff.
It just seems weird to be able to do that.
It seems weird to drink at Taco Bell to begin with. Legally, anyway.
Legally, exactly.
Well, at Polo Tropical, when we go down to Naples to visit Grandpa, they have beer and they have sangria as well.
Nice.
And it's like a fast food chicken place. It's kind of weird, but...
That's cool. Well, yeah, Taco Bell, they're not going to only be doing beer. They're also going to have, they have their version of a slushie, but they're going to have rum-infused versions of them, and I think maybe tequila I might have seen.
Nice.
And basic cocktails, too. And I saw the pictures for the plan for this new one. Taco Bell is going through a rebranding, which is kind of cool. KFC just did it, and they're related. KFC just brought back the Colonel, by the way, which is awesome. So Taco Bell, I'm assuming, is bringing back Mr. Taco.
Wait,
but
Mr. Taco?
I
That's
don't know
a thing?
what that is.
It's not a thing.
Okay.
But no, they're going through this rebranding. So the pictures of the new location, like the artist rendering of it, actually looked really cool. Like it looked kind of like a almost upscale dining area. But then you just happen to order your $4 quesadilla and go back with your cheap Corona anyway. But it should be pretty cool. If I saw right, there's one in San Francisco that's going to be doing it soon too. I just need you, Taco Bell, to do it on the East Coast. Preferably
no, you
Philly.
Don't.
Yes,
you do not need a reason to keep going to Taco Bell. Come on.
Taco Bell is the reason to keep going to Taco Bell. Have you had a quesarito? You haven't. You're vegan.
No.
But you should have a quesarito. Break vegan edge for one day and have a quesarito. Go all out. Get the steak quesarito. They have sriracha they can put in it. I know you like siracha.
I love sriracha.
Wasn't there a Stallone movie where like every restaurant was Taco Bell?
I was going to say, does this mean that Demolition Man is going to come true? Yes. Let me take you to dinner at Taco Bell.
Don't forget the seashells, the 3 seashells.
He doesn't know how to use the seashell.
Did we ever find out what the seashells were for, by the way?
No.
I don't think they ever... Okay.
That's never explained.
It's just a deep, dark secret in the director's mind.
Exactly.
Well.
Some things are best left to the imagination.
Yes. Like that news segment. Well, that's all I'm going to put everybody through because that's actually all that I really saw that I wanted to talk about today. So, at least for news. So, that gets us into Bucks County Brewery sooner than later. So, Andrew, thank you again for welcoming us out here.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, it's I like the space you have out here. It's a nice little. It's cool driving in through like the sort of rural roads coming back, and then you come in and you have like this nice little tasting room set up more or less. I like the little bar decor. I looked at the one across the way. Wayne got some shots of the brewery that I'm really anxious to see, the brewing equipment. How long have you guys been open though?
We opened not this January, but last January, so right around 16 months.
Okay. So has the reception been pretty good so far?
It's been overwhelming.
Okay.
It really has been.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know you had mentioned earlier about your Friday events and how just keeping up with the demand here at the tap room. I know you said that you had expanded your system recently, hoping to distribute, and turns out that you needed that expansion just to keep up with your...
Yeah, our expansion literally has been to keep the taps flowing in our tasting room. We have our beer in one of the local bars in Doylestown, but it's hard to give them a keg of beer, because as soon as I give them a keg of beer, we run out here, so...
And you're now brewing, 3 and 6 barrel batches here?
Yes. We brewed 1 barrel through the winter. We have a 1 barrel, a 3 barrel. Well, we have a 1 barrel, and then we also have a 3/6 barrel system, because our steam boiler, our boil kettle can do both. So we stepped up the 3 barrel, barely able to keep it on tap, so now we're going to start doing the 6 barrel.
How many days a week are you brewing right now?
We brew Sundays every week, and then as needed, we'll come in during the week and pop off a brew or two. And it's been actually difficult to do the smaller brews because of the quantities we need. And we've had probably 47 different beers since we've been been open. And but that's really slowed down, because now I'm just really trying to keep the beer on that everybody we have some staples now, just because they have become the staples, not because
so you have,
we planned that.
As far as like flagship or tent pole or whatever you would call them beers, how many are those ones that just kind of grew out of demand, or did you have beers that when you started were going to be like, the backbone of the brewery? Or
well, when we started, I didn't have anything as far as an idea about anything. So this has been incredibly organic, and it's been a learning experience for me. It's my first manufacturing business, my first brewery. So we just wanted to make sure we could keep the doors open while we figured all that out. So the flagship beers that we have, or the standard beers, are really the ones that it gives us a really nice portfolio of beer, so that when someone comes in, we're most likely going to have something that everybody likes. That's tended to be what's happened. And they're the ones that everybody just keeps asking for, and when I don't have them on tap, they get upset.
Then those are the ones you got to keep
right,
making.
Exactly.
That's right.
In that same vein, what was the first beer or beers that you brewed here?
The very first beer that we made here was actually a beer called Crabalope, which is a crabapple cantaloupe pale ale.
I had that when I was here the first time.
That sounds very interesting.
It was really, really good.
People love it. It's one of those ones. It's unfortunate. It's more of a summer beer, but we use fresh crab apples and cantaloupe, and they're a fall fruit.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we have a local orchard that grows. We have been having to have the crab apples shipped in from Maine, because the varietal we use doesn't grow around here, but there is an orchard that grows them, and they grow a lot of them. So hopefully we're going to take a bunch and freeze them so we can have the beer for next summer.
Nice.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
a great idea.
Yeah, it is.
So not only have you expanded the brewing system, you've also expanded the tasting room. It's about twice as big as it was last time I was here.
Mm-hmm. And that's been just to make room for the folks that have come in. Winter was much busier than we anticipated. We certainly appreciate that, especially how bad this winter was. Mm-hmm. We really needed to do this on necessity. This was a storeroom that we really, really needed, but we needed space for human beings more so.
Right.
So what is it about Bucks County Brewery that you've enjoyed so much? I mean, you still work a full-time job.
I do.
Yet you're still motivated to come and brew, and you're always here in the tasting room. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you going here?
I really enjoy making beer. I actually enjoy the process of making beer even more than I enjoy drinking beer. I like hobbies and things that are very meticulous. I was a falconer for a while, so that's another one of those very meticulous things. So I love the process of the beer, and I really, really, really love interfacing with the people that come in. That's why every time we're open, I am in the tasting room, because that's really what gives me the juice,
Yeah. Moving away from beer for a second, though, how does one get into falconry?
Well, I'm not sure how most of the ones do it, but I was actually working at a store, and a lady came in. It was a little retail store, and she was from the New Paul's Peregrine Foundation. And when I saw that, I said, "Oh, Peregrine Falcons! I really love falcons," and blah 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 blah. And we just struck up a conversation, and she was looking for to become a falconer. You have to go through several steps of apprenticeship. and she was looking for a new apprentice. So, I guess kind of this little Star Wars thing going on there, So she said, well, would you like to do that? And I was like, oh my God, that's the most awesome thing ever. So I started to apprentice and went through the whole process of getting my license. And I was living in Upper Black Eddy, Pennsylvania at the time, which is very remote. So I was able to keep the hawk and train the hawk. And then when I moved back into New Jersey, it just kind of all didn't go with me. Yeah. But that's one of our flagship beers is Peregrine IPA, and it's named after the Peregrine Falcon.
How neat.
That's awesome.
And I also saw koi keeping.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Well, it's when one has a pond and keeps koi in it. But
Okay, so it's
Simple
exactly
enough.
what I thought.
it's exactly what it is. But like all things, I tend to take hobbies to an extreme, and so I really studied what it means to keep koi, and some people spend thousands and thousands on them. I did not. I couldn't imagine spending $1,000 on a fish, but I really got into the whole design of ponds and what it was all about, and very similar to beer making. You don't really keep koi, you keep water, and the koi tend to keep themselves. With beer, you don't make beer, you make a nice home for yeast, and yeast makes
Yeast,
the beer.
yeah.
So there was a lot of similarities between those two.
It's the yeast.
And you're also a guitar player.
Yes.
Correct? Do you ever perform here at the brewery?
I will perform with bands from time to time. So far, all I've done is sang songs, but my friend Joe Hutchinson will be here on Saturday, June 27th. We're having a private event. There's actually someone getting married here that day.
Oh, wow.
So after that, my friend Joe will be playing. And we have a beer called Pappy Smitty's Dirty Sock Beer, which is a Prohibition-style beer. And I wrote a song about that for the one we did our Kickstarter. And so we recorded the song, and it came out so well. I was goofing around for 10 minutes, but it came out so well that we're going to play it live that day. So I'll have my guitar here that day.
That's pretty awesome.
So you are sort of a Renaissance man. You're like a
Pretty much.
a jack of all trades here.
I've had a lot of people say that actually, because of the hobbies. But I enjoy things that are process driven, and that's why I love making beer, because it's all about the process. And I really do love the functionality and the functions of going through the steps of making a beer and really standardizing that and all of everything that goes into that.
Now, you strike me as a man who needs to concentrate on what he's doing at that point then. So like when you're brewing the beer, if you get into the process of it that much, do you then have like music playing so it's just you and the brewing equipment, that's it, that's your soundtrack?
Yes.
Okay, I kind of figured you'd say that.
It's like the yeast whisperer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeast whisperer. Well, that's when the brewing's done. That's when you start whispering to the yeast.
That's right.
They're kind of-
I work with a gentleman who was a scientist, and he's now retired from that. So he's helping me with our standard operating procedures and everything. We're trying to make it very process driven, and we don't have a lot of automation, and we don't have a lot of the process equipment that you would need to really be able to nail things down. So a lot of it's very manual, timing how long it takes from get to here, and estimating flow rates and all that. So that's a lot of what we do during the brew day.
Now, you also have some very interesting beers that have been on tap. You mentioned 47 different brews, but talk about the one you did for Thanksgiving. I thought that was a very unique
I'm
brew.
curious about this one too.
The Convivium, yes.
I was also curious how to say it, so thank you.
Convivium, which is Latin for the feast.
The feast.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And that was kind of a sort of just an epiphany. And I thought it'd be neat to brew a beer around Thanksgiving. And I thought to myself, it'd be neat if we made a beer that kind of went with Thanksgiving. Then all of a sudden I just went, oh, wow, let's make this brew it. And instead of using hops and the typical things, let's use Thanksgiving-type spices for bittering and for flavoring. So we wound up using parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, which of course everybody then thinks Simon and Garfunkel and all that. But where that song actually came from was an ancient. Those spices were used a lot together, and they were used specifically as a poultry based. So people used to make turkey with that.
Right.
So, so we made this beer, and it was all fresh herbs, and we had it in these giant bags, and we were steeping it as we were brewing the beer, and the place smelled amazing. It was like the best smell day ever in the brewery. And exactly. And we fermented it with a Belgian yeast to give it a little bit of a peppery flavor. And then the first year we did it, we didn't carbonate it at all because I was trying to make a table wine for Thanksgiving was the idea. We've since let some of it carbonate and drank it, and it's much better with a little bit of that effervescence in it, so we're going to do it. And we recommended people drink it at room temperature. So And it was great like that. And we told people, do not sit down with the football game and try to drink this. It's not a
football game.
We have a beer called Just Beer Kolsch. That's your football game.
Your football game.
Yeah. So it came out really, really well. People loved it. But
So
it
you're
was
gonna brew it again?
we're going to brew it every year. And it was so off the beaten path, though. It wasn't quite a beer. It wasn't a wine. It was almost like an alcoholic, herb-induced soft drink. It was really interesting. It tasted phenomenal. It was unbelievable, and it went really, really well with Thanksgiving. Some people also ate it with lamb, fish because of the parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
Turkey. There
Oh
you go.
yeah, absolutely. You could put it right in the tofurkey and make it taste a little bit more.
I used what's the beer that Dogfish does with all the herbs in it? That's what I basted my tofurkey in.
I got
I
nothing.
can't even think of the name of it.
Sauté?
No.
No.
The one that they did with Victory and anyway, it's
I don't
a
know.
moot point. But yes,
Oh, I know what
do.
you're talking about. Yeah, the Stone did. They all
Yes.
did one.
Yes,
I forget
that's
what
what
that
I
was.
basted it in this year. But you also did a very interesting anniversary beer as well, some butternut squash.
The smoked butternut squash
Yes.
imperial porter. Yeah.
Wow.
We I had made that when I was homebrewing, and my brother-in-law grew these gigantic Argonaut butternut squash, which is a hybrid between pumpkin and butternut. So it is in the shape of a butternut, but it's giant. They're 20 pounds each, and they have a pumpkin-y kind of skin to them and a pumpkin-y flesh. And he brought one over, and he's like, I like to cook too, so he wanted me to make a soup or something out of it. And I just looked at it, I said, no way, we're
Beer.
making beer.
Obviously.
And I said, you just got that really high-end smoker thing. Let's smoke this thing and make a beer out of it. And so we made a porter, and it came out really, really well. And it's different enough to where we did that as our anniversary beer. So we brewed it. It was about 10.5%, 11%. We fermented it in 20-year-old rum barrels, and then we aged it in secondary 20-year-old rum barrels, and then we bottle conditioned it in 750 milliliter bottles.
I'm liking every
cow.
step of that
Yeah, me
process.
too.
That sounds really good.
Now here again is another one. It's a timing thing because the butternut really isn't ready until late fall. So we get it, we smoke it. It takes about 2 months for it to go through. I let it go through a little bit of a fermentation to remove a lot of the residual sweetness. But by the time we make it, our anniversary is January 30th.
Right.
And it's about 4 months away from being ready to drink at that point. So, and we had a lot of people that bought it that loved it. But we literally just cracked a bottle open about 3 weeks ago. My brother from Delaware came up and he hadn't had it. And so we put a couple bottles away and we cracked it open. It was amazing. I mean, the smoke, because it's not a smoked malt, it's not like a bacon beer.
Right,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
got this sweet flavor that comes from the butternut. And that it's subdued to such a really cool part. You had some taste of raisin in there. There was a little bit of hints of licorice. It was so cool and diverse. So,
Now you talked about aging in rum barrels. You are at a very unique place here because right across the hall, you have a spirits.
Hewn Spirits
Guy.
right across the hall from us.
Spirits.
Yep.
Hume Spirits is right across the hall.
Yes.
So have you and he collaborated at all?
We do a couple things. I did, when I first made the smoked butternut squash for the Yardley Beer Festival, I used one of his 5-gallon barrels to age it in. Unfortunately, I need 53 barrels, and he's using smaller barrels now. But I also make a vanilla porter, which we'll try today. That we actually use their various rums or whiskeys or whatever to make our own vanilla extract. We get fresh Madagascar vanilla bean sent in every time we make that beer, and we make our own extract for that beer.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. It's nice to see making your own extract.
Yes.
It's,
It makes a
as that
difference.
actually, yeah.
It makes a
extra
huge
special,
difference.
And
yeah,
you have
absolutely.
an event coming up with them on Sunday, June 21st.
Yes, our Father's Day.
Hey, Father's Day.
Nice.
Yep, beer. We figured, what does Dad really, really want for Father's Day? Barbecue, beer, and booze. So,
Yeah. Well, not our
I was
dad.
gonna say,
yeah.
depends on
our
the
dad
dad.
doesn't
oh,
like beer.
okay, there you go. Well, we have the booze and the barbecue.
Yeah.
So we have a barbecue truck coming out. They're making some things specially for that. I think they're making like a ribeye steak sandwich or something, and their typical barbecue menu. And then we'll have the spirits and the beer flowing.
That sounds pretty good.
And you guys have a web calendar on your website, so our listeners can go and check out events like this coming up. Check out the Food Truck Fridays, which trucks are coming, which bands are playing. And if you do come out on Friday, make sure you come out early because you have been getting quite the crowds lately, upwards of 350, 400 people.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. Good
Yes,
for you.
yes.
So
And we do encourage people to bring lawn chairs. We are family friendly, but we do ask that if parents come out, that you please, please, please keep an eye on your children.
Keep them on a leash.
We do love having the kids come out. We make root beer and birch beer here as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So we always have that on tap for kids. And a lot of adults like. As a matter of fact, we have something we call R2P2. and an R2P2 is a quarter root beer, 3/4 vanilla porter.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
I might
Oh,
have
wow.
to try that.
That
Yeah.
sounds really
There's
good.
no might. I have to try that.
So we have a lot of fun. We just put some fencing up just so the children know where to stay, and we're going to try and create some things for them to do, and so that they can have as much fun as their parents are having.
Where do you get the ideas for the thing? Like, I never would think to put root beer in a vanilla porter, or like to have a butternut squash beer, or to have everything that's in the convivium. Where do you get the ideas for that?
That really, I mean, it's almost like if you play music, you just get ideas for songs,
just
and
happens.
it's the same.
right.
The smoked butternut was my brother showed me this thing, and literally I saw it. And my brother-in-law went, "Bam, we're gonna make a beer and we're gonna smoke the butternut." I don't know what made me think of that. I've never smoked anything in my life. The crabapple cantaloupe. Actually, the crabapple cantaloupe came from a drunken stupor with my with said brother-in-law drinking said smoked butternut squash porter.
all right.
When I made it the first time, it was 16.5%.
Oh, wow.
So and it tasted about like 3%.
Wow.
And
that's dangerous.
good beer is like potato chips, right? You can't just have
Yeah.
one.
Wow.
So
That's the truth.
Amazing.
we were drinking that beer, and we were both feeling very creative. And
Inspired.
it was about 2 a.m, and he's like, "Let's create a beer. Let's create a beer." He's like, "Let's put you to the test and see if you can really come up with something." And I said, "Okay, what do you got? What are you growing?" He has this amazing garden. I said, "What are you growing this year?" He started listing stuff, cabbage, blah blah blah, and he said, "Cantaloupe." Oh, boom, we're gonna make a beer out of cantaloupe. I've never heard one of those. I said, "But cantaloupe's got that weird melon sweetness, and we need something not bitter, tart."
Yeah.
Tart. You
Yeah.
got to play off of that. What do you got that's tart? And he started listing stuff, and nothing worked. And he said, "Well, the only other thing I have is my crabapple tree." And I'm like, "Bingo! I mean, that's perfect." So 2 a.m, we're out there with a ladder picking crab apples out of his tree, and we made the beer, and the balance was amazing. I make teas out of everything. So I made a tea out of the crab apple. I made a tea out of the cantaloupe to dial in the exact. When you have the jalapeno beer, we made tea out of jalapeno. That's my first step whenever I use a flavoring, because I find a lot of flavored beers, for my taste anyway, are well overdone.
Yeah.
And we find that you need a lot less than what you would think. So we tend to make a tea out of it. So we made a tea out of the crab apple and cantaloupe. And I thought, this stuff, even the way it is, it's too sweet. So we let it ferment for about 2.5 months. We do a regular fermentation, and then we let it just go wild for about a month. And whatever happens to be floating around the brewery, you'll get in there and make it really unique. And then we make the crab apple cantaloupe out of that. But again, it's all just sort of these, beer epiphanies, I guess, is what you would call it.
Steph, have you ever had jalapeno tea?
Jalapeno tea?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
That jalapeno is just about everything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I use tea in a very loose sense. It's water with
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
we're making.
Steeping.
Well, we made the Saison. Everybody loved the Saison, but I wanted to make it a little interesting. I had no intention of making a pepper beer. I did not want to make a pepper beer.
Good.
That's like, I don't understand.
I'm not a pepper beer. Actually, it's funny. But if I go to a bar, I do not choose infused beers. I just
Yeah.
don't. I'm not an infused beer guy yet. Out of the 47 beers we've made, half of them have been infused, but it isn't. When you taste the way we infuse stuff, it's not. It's a strong Saison, and the pepper makes it a better strong Saison.
Right,
It doesn't become a jalapeno beer that was a Saison.
It's not just sort of like so I think sometimes you'll get beers that are just sort of like basically a blank, boring, bland canvas, so that we could throw in a bunch of insert weird
right,
thing
which
here,
is cool. I mean,
Which
there's a lot
is
of great
fine,
stuff
yeah.
out there, and I have no problem with that. But I always think of those infusions as another hop edition.
Yeah, that's a good
and not
one.
an IPA hop edition, a typical hop
Yeah.
edition. Where it's, it's all about making whatever beer it is a little bit better, not about overpowering whatever. You should be able to drink and say that's a Saison and it's got jalapeno in it. Not that's a jalapeno beer. What was the base beer?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm thirsty.
I think I guess
Is it
it's
that
time
time?
then.
Is
isn't
it
it?
that
think it's
time?
time.
It's that time.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
All right, so I like that we're starting off with this one because it's starting to get hot like summertime, so why not start with the summer beer? So what is this one?
So this is a summer wheat ale. It's got lemon zest in it. This is a 3-barrel batch, and there's 60 lemons that I zested. I just zested 60 more this morning because I have to make more.
Oh my God.
And it's
So
got
that's 60 for what, 3 barrels?
for 3 barrels. And it's got grains of paradise, which is the West African spice, kind of like a peppercorn.
This is delicious.
Oh my
I
God.
love this. This is
No,
awesome.
thank you. I mean, since we've added on, we're just blasting through this stuff. I
The
was going to make
perfect
more.
Friday night in the summertime.
This
kind
is
of beer.
this is the beer I needed today.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Right there with you.
And you said you make shandies using this beer too?
No, we make shandies using the Hefeweizen.
Oh, using the Hefeweizen.
But where the shandies come in is I have to zest 60 lemons, so we juice the lemons and save it to make
Perfect.
fresh
That makes
lemonade
total
for the
sense.
shandies.
Yeah.
Hey Bev, what's the alcohol on this? The summer. 5.9. So 5.9. So you can sit there and have
Nice
them all night without.
Slightly over
Crawling
sessionable
away.
technically, but yeah,
Technically.
Technically.
Depending
way
on who-
under for Dan.
I was
but-
going to say, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, I love the way the wheat and the lemon, and you get that grains of paradise. That's that zippiness behind
yeah,
it.
that and it's almost like I wouldn't have been able to say, oh, that's grains of paradise, but there is that flavor there that's definitely
And it just
Unique.
it goes so nicely with the citrus.
yeah.
I love it.
And I like that the lemon flavor isn't super like citrus,
Yeah,
like
it's
acidic.
not-
It's
it
not
doesn't
real
make it pucker
tangy
at all.
or tart and there's like a nice mellow, slight sweetness to it.
And it's almost like a effervescence, I like to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I already feel a lot cooler than I was
I know, right?
5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
did the job already.
We should have started the show.
To our
with this.
listeners out there that since we don't have the technology to let you feel our location yet, we're inside now, so it's not so bad. But it is a hot, humid, crazy day outside today. And this-
Rich's phone says very hot. That's what the weather says at the top of his phone.
very hot,
It
Very
is
hot.
borderline oppressive.
borderline oppressive.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Borderline. I'd say it's pretty oppressive.
But this is the perfect beer for a day like this.
Holy crap, yeah, it is.
This would be great in a can.
This would be awesome in a can.
This would can well.
Yeah.
Have you
absolutely.
considered that?
We were looking. We have a beer called Just Beer Kolsch, and we were going to can it for the Super Bowl. That's why we made it.
I love the name of that, by the way.
Well, when you taste it, unfortunately, we're out of it. But when you taste it, people are like, "Oh my God, that's perfect! It's just beer."
just
and
beer.
we figured you're watching the Super Bowl. You don't want to drink, yucky beer, but
Right.
you want just beer. You don't want to be. You don't have to be fancy. You don't need. It's just beer. And so the Kolsch was. I had it all lined up for the canning. I just couldn't get it all pulled off together. Now, for us, unfortunately, we can't make enough beer to really justify canning at
Yeah.
this point. So, but I'm a big fan. I'm not going to bottle if we go that production route. I'm definitely going to can. It's better for the beer, better for the environment.
Yep, yeah.
There is a mobile canning truck that'll come right out and do it that a lot of the other local breweries use. So,
Nice.
big fan of canning. And I would love at some point to get a crowler machine too. We're looking
I was
at
actually
that.
just going to ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just found out what a crowler was when we were in Jersey.
Village
at-
Idiot. Oh,
yeah,
Village
Idiot
It was the
has
first
one,
time
sure.
I'd ever actually seen a
We
crowler.
videotaped Mark Graves filling
Yeah,
my
that's
crowler.
right.
That was the first
Yeah.
time I saw a crowler being sealed with that machine. That was pretty cool.
First time you saw a crowler working.
Yes.
The only place
Crowler
you can get
being
them is
crowled.
Oscar Blues, oddly
Oh,
enough,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so there was a little bit of a backlog, and then I think that's freed up a little bit, but it just is sort of isn't in the plans at the moment to pop that on the brewery right now.
Can we
Steph's
drink this one
yeah.
now?
Steph's already kind of going at it.
I'm still
So,
It has a
savoring
great
the first.
fresh
So this-
vegetal pepper.
The next
aroma.
one is our jalapeno saison. We use 2 jalapenos for every 30 gallons, so it's
And I
hardly
put
any.
30 in 5 gallons.
Yeah, I was gonna say your ratios are the opposite.
Yeah, right, and it's only no seeds, no veins. We take out all the capsaicin, and
So you
it's
get more of
only
the
in there.
flavor.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's only in there for 5 minutes. Literally, we put it in, flame out, and go.
I have to say, I'm surprised that there is as much jalapeno flavor as there is, because when you told me you only put 2 in, I'm like, what? But
And no seeds? What?
Yeah, but it's really nice, subtle, refreshing. It's there, but you're right. You still completely get the saison.
Right.
there's almost no kick to it, no heat from the jalapeno.
There's really not. Yeah,
Because
there's really
the
not.
the saison feel at the end of it kind of cleans it up. It cleans up after itself, I guess you could say.
Then that's exactly what we were going through. Again, I wanted to think of it just as another hop. So it gives you that nice little wisp of jalapeno. You get it
Yeah.
in the nose, actually, even more than the flavor.
Yeah.
And it just kind of interestingly zests up the saison.
It sort of complements it more than becoming, the whole focus. This is probably the most un-Steph-like Steph beer.
But I love it.
But yeah,
I really
I'm sure.
love it.
And
it's really
this
good.
is the sort of, this is the sort of pepper beer that I like, is where you get the flavor and not the heat, because the heat is what I can't take. Steph always makes fun of me, but I do really love the pepper flavor in beer, and I like the subtlety of it. in this. And
I
it's
don't
a
think
solid
I'd want a
saison
really
as a base.
spicy pepper beer today.
No.
Like this is a good. It's very hot outside pepper beer.
You don't need a pepper beer to turn on the sweat.
Exactly.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
that's true. Yeah.
every time I drink a hot beer now, I think of Chelsea. Stilettos.
Oh, yeah,
and I
yeah,
think
yeah.
When her face
she
turned
would,
bright red.
I think she would like this.
She would really like
because
this.
it's not hot, but it's got the pepper flavor, and then the saison washes it out. Mm-hmm. Like it's so good. Oh, it's good.
It's one of the beers that we literally have to beg people to try because they've had bad experiences with pepper beers.
Ghost Force Killer.
Right, and so it's like
For instance.
the little samples. Just try a little sample. We're not going to charge you for it. You don't like it, you can whatever spit
Yeah.
it on the floor. And it winds up being
Don't spit on the floor.
don't spit on the floor, please. I don't know who suggested
Spit it
that.
back into the cup.
Erase that when you put this on the podcast. But then they wind up they buy a pint of it because like, oh my god, I like a pepper beer.
Yeah.
and it's so
Oh, it's so good.
Well, speaking of, I think we should. Speaking of spicy things, we should give a shout out to the Bagel Guy and his what was
And
his
his
Patrick
bagels.
Patrick, yes, from the
what was
Bagel
name of-
Barrel.
Bagel Barrel, that
Yes.
was it. Who uses your spent grains?
Yes, to make
Oh.
bagels.
To make bagels.
And
There's
in
the
return
connection.
gives us these unbelievable bagel bites. It's actually they made it to one of our Yelp reviews.
Oh, yeah?
The
Oh,
lady,
that's cool.
the lady said, great beer, worth going for the beer. They said, but what puts this place over the top is the bagel bites.
That's so cool.
That and the super duper hot wasabi mustard that we
Yeah,
have.
that's
all the time.
the wasabi mustard. What did he call it?
I didn't hear.
Well, he had bagels that have smack your mama sauce.
That's
on
what
it.
it was.
So that's the
Smack your
bagels
mama
have that on smack,
Okay,
yeah, or
okay,
a
that's what-
spice. He calls it smack your mama.
Right.
But no, he brings up the mustard as well, and we actually have it here that we sell. We sell it for him. We don't sell it for ourselves. But
Right.
because so many people were like, where can I get this? And I finally said to Pat, why don't you just leave some here so we don't have to disappoint folks.
All right. Awesome.
I don't know if I'm courageous enough to try that.
It's great. You just
another
put a little
beer or
dab
two.
on it,
Just a
and
little bit.
the cool thing about it, it's not that lasting kill you heat. It's just that instant, like up your nose, clear your sinuses.
Yeah.
That's the kind of heat I can kind of
Yeah,
stand.
Get
and
the tissue
wasabi.
ready
and
right
it
away.
tastes amazing. It's
Horseradish,
just so tasty that mustard. It's
That's
amazing.
good. That's good.
I know the bagels smelled delicious when we walked in.
No, I literally showed up one morning. I was a tad congested, so I just put a big old
There you go.
daub of that on a bagel bite. And
You
just,
need to make a wasabi beer.
I
now.
was just gonna
solved.
say
a
it.
smack your mama beer.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, I don't know that I would like that.
there may be some breweries in the area a little better suited to that.
Well,
Yeah.
Dogfish did the rosabi, and
Oh,
I didn't like that.
yeah.
I didn't like it.
We
Not
had
enough
the
wasabi.
It's
If we did it, you'd actually be disappointed because you wasabi, boy, you want to be knocked
want it to
on.
be like-
and you'd be like, yeah, I tasted it's there.
Well, you could do it subtle, and then you could do like
A Steph version.
cask or like a small batch of like really
Like,
in your face,
dialed up to 11,
Like
yeah.
it could be like shake your mama's hand, or now here's the smack your mama.
shake your mama's hand.
Could be different versions of it. Well,
Shake your mama's hand if she doesn't shake back.
Oh,
no,
goodness.
we should play a game now.
Yeah, let's
think we should do
let's
that?
do that.
I'm just taking this show over.
You are. It's cool. You're allowed to. You actually helped set up today, so I feel like I'm passing the baton, kind of.
Uh-oh.
I'm not
Dan
quitting.
retiring?
I'm not quitting.
Wait, is Dan retiring?
No.
What's going on?
You'll have to kick me out. all
Okay.
right? No. But anyway, Wayne. New music, by the way.
Oh, hold on. I just want to listen to the music for a second.
I tried to play it during the Evil Genius thing, but it was too loud. Nobody heard it.
Oh, yeah. It was hard to hear stuff there.
Nice.
I like this. This is going to be my theme song now. Like, not just happy fun time games.
When
but
is
you
your
walk in
walk-up
the room.
music.
everything. Yeah. In fact, that's all you need. Just music. This happy fun time games. You know what it is. You know how it works. Today we are playing There's Weird in My Beer, which is a game I think we haven't played in a little
Been a
while.
while.
Yes. So everything from, I don't know, whale testicles to moon dust to goat's brains. All of these
Smoked
things.
goat's brains.
Smoked goat's brains have gone into beer. And today, on our game, I'm going to celebrate these wacky beers. Some would call them stunt beers. By playing a game called There's Weird in My Beer, where I will give you the name and a brief description of a beer and a multiple choice question as to what weird ingredient is in that beer. And we are going to begin, as always, to my left with Dan. And the first beer on the roster today is called Suntory Precious. It's a 5% beer of some sort from Japan that contains an additive popular among women in the Far East for maintaining youthful skin. Is that additive
wow.
snail mucin, collagen, or bee venom?
I want it to be bee venom. Wait, what is bee venom? Do bees
It
have
is a
venom?
venom from a bee.
Do bees have venom?
When they sting you?
They
I guess,
sting
yeah,
you.
because there's poisonous bees. Yeah, all right, bee venom.
Dan is saying
That
bee
seems
venom.
Japanese enough, right?
Okay, fair. I guess. Sure. Andrew, what's your guess?
I'm going to go with the snail
Snail mucin?
mucus.
Snail mucus or mucin, which makes it sound a little nicer.
I think I'm going to say the snail stuff too.
You're going to say the snail stuff as well. Everybody is incorrect because the answer
was
is in
collagen?
fact collagen.
Oh, that's
That
so
was the one I was
simple.
pretty
That's so
sure it wasn't.
straightforward.
Almost said that,
Collagen,
too.
yes.
That's almost that's the obvious trick question answer.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't pick it.
And the trick worked. Yes, see, it is collagen. This it's a beer with special value and quality that has clear and rich taste for refreshing time. And 2 grams, that's what it says on the can. 2 grams of collagen per can. Collagen is a protein in connective tissue, and many Japanese women consume collagen-rich supplements, powders, and foods, believing it to make their skin more beautiful. Though collagen does contribute to the elasticity of skin, eating or drinking it won't really do much to turn back the clock. But Suntory Precious, a beer with collagen. Unfortunately, it's only available in one area in Japan at the moment, but hey, might be coming to the States eventually on the heels of Hello Kitty beer.
God.
And leave
on.
the rhinos alone because their horns can't help you either.
Exactly, yes. Very good advice. Moving on to our second beer of the game, and Andrew's going to guess first on this one, and this beer is called La Jordana del Escorpión en Fuego hacia la Casa del Chupacabra Muerto. It's a 10%
Dead.
ABV Imperial Mexican Lager from Unknown Brewing Company. Contains agave nectar, serrano peppers, and another less appetizing ingredient. Is that scorpions, goat blood, or both of those things?
Well, I definitely heard scorpion in there. Chupacabras, they quite don't exist. So that could be the goat blood because chupacabras eat goats. So I'm going to say both.
You're going to say both. Okay, Steph, what do you think?
I'll say both too. Why
You'll
not?
say both as well. And finally, Dan?
I'm going to say both.
You're going to say both as well, and not a
Damn
good
it.
showing today because everyone is wrong again. It's just the scorpions.
Just.
No goat's blood, so I guess that makes it better.
As you were saying the name of the beer, like I knew a bunch of the words, but then as you were done, I tried to piece it together and I got lost.
Well, it translates roughly to the path of the fiery scorpion through the house of the dead chupacabra.
Okay.
But you can call it Escorpión en Fuego for short, should you be brave enough to order it. Though decidedly Mexican in character, this beer comes from North Carolina and is made with 99 food-grade scorpions. When
Wait,
asked-
there's food-grade
There's
scorpions?
food-grade scorpions, yes.
What makes it food grade?
It won't
Safe
kill
to
you?
eat?
Yeah.
But what?
I don't know. I didn't make
wish
the
I
beer.
had a cat.
But when
Yes,
asked,
The scorpions are grass-fed.
they're grass-fed, free-range organic scorpions.
Desert to fork.
Hormone-free. Desert to fork. Oh my. When asked if these scorpions would affect the flavor, head brewer and owner Brad Shell responded, "I'm not sure, that's not the point. The point is the beer needs scorpions. Some things just have to happen."
I don't like this guy.
Well, this guy knows where to get food-grade scorpions, so if you're ever in need, that's the guy to call, North Carolina. All right, our third and final beer of the game, and Steph is going to guess first on this one, and this is the Brasserie St. James Saison. It's a Saison brewed exclusively for the Strange Brew Festival at the Brewers Cabinet in Reno, Nevada earlier this year. This beer is made with a certain classic bit of sweetness. Is that Pez, Jolly Ranchers, or Mike and Ike's? In a Saison.
I'm gonna say Pez.
Steph is going to say Pez. Dan, what's your guess?
Pez, Mike and Ike, or what?
Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers. I'm not saying that. That's my answer. I'm going to say Pez as well.
You're going to say Pez as well. Okay, finally, Andrew.
Well, I think for the fruitiness, I'm going to go Jolly Ranchers.
You're going to go with Jolly Ranchers. Not a good choice because Dan and Steph were actually correct.
There you go. All right.
Can't go wrong. Pez.
It is in
You really can't.
It is in fact Pez. There's not a lot of official info on this beer, as I'm pretty sure it was brewed exclusively for this awesome sounding festival. Reviews on Untappd say it is sweet and very lemony, and blogger Farah Vital said it definitely tasted better than I actually thought it would.
Well, I think the Pez would all sort of ferment out quite. Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody really mentioned how much the Pez came through.
I made a
Is
beer with
Pez
Fruity
fermentable
Pebbles, and there
sugar?
was no Fruity Pebbles.
Wait,
in
you
it
brewed
at
it with
all.
what?
Fruity Pebbles when I was home brewing, just because I had some Fruity Pebbles.
That's not it.
Fruity Pebbles.
There it is.
There you go.
Late much.
Well, no, because the music was lowered, so that
It
was
was
lowered.
all-
Then
Fruity
I
Pebbles are
slipped
so
and
good.
Nothing worked
They are so-
out.
Fruity Pebbles.
They are so good, but it just
I'm
fermented
just gonna
all
keep
out.
hitting it now because I know where it is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Tastes
Follow-
kind of
follow
cidery.
back up.
Yeah.
Fruity Pebbles.
All right, that's the last one.
Thank you.
Well,
Fruity Pebbles.
That's real. The last one.
ladies and gentlemen,
Ladies and gentlemen,
We won.
Dan and Steph are tied for first place in today's game, and I am
Very
I
In
am,
a
awesome.
sad 1-0
I am
victory.
literally dumbstruck with 1 point
Do
apiece.
we-
Unfortunately, Andrew 0 points.
do we
But
have
hey.
a tiebreaker or?
I have little experience with arachnids in beer. So.
That's fair enough. I don't think many people do. So there was actually a brewery called Slippery Pig, I believe.
Okay.
Like a traditional farm brewery somewhere on the West Coast. And they made a series of beers with stinging nettles in the beer. They did...
Aren't they medicinal?
I don't know. Mild ale, pale ale, I believe. All sort of basic styles of beer. And they also did...
really good bittering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never, obviously had... Well, I don't know if it's obvious, but I've never had stinging nettles in anything. But they also did one... where they use dandelions in place of hops. Mm-hmm. So
That I've heard of. They're
That's,
very bitter.
I can imagine
I've
that.
juiced dandelion
Yeah.
greens. They're very bitter.
I imagine
Great in
it
a
would
salad, too.
Be, I imagine they're pretty
They're awesome in
earthy
a salad.
and grassy.
Bitter.
Yeah,
Bitter.
just
They're bitter.
Just
Just
bitter.
bitter.
Just
bitter.
plain
Even
bitter.
more
Just
bitter than
bitter.
kale and
Just bitter,
and
bitter.
collard greens. Ugh, they're
Interesting.
bitter.
So not a tiebreaker, but honorable mention.
But did you know?
Did you know?
We got a did you know out of that. All right.
Did you
good
know?
Enough, good enough. Well, on that note, I feel like we should know more.
Know your beers.
I'm still working on these segues. Steph, what do you got?
You're so clever, Dan. So on this episode's rendition of Know Your Beers, we're going to talk about the English mild. This style may have evolved as one of the elements of early porters. In modern times, the name mild refers to the relative lack of hop bitterness. Right?
Makes sense.
Originally, the mildness may have referred to the fact that the beer was young and did not yet have the moderate sourness that aged batches had. Somewhat rare in England, good versions may still be found in the Midlands around Birmingham. An English mild is a light-flavored, malt-accented beer that is readily suited to drinking in quantity, refreshing yet flavorful. Some versions may seem like lower-gravity brown porters. The aroma you can expect is malt-forward with hints of fruit. The malt can be caramelly, grainy, toasted, nutty, chocolate, or light roasted. The appearance is copper to dark brown or even mahogany in color, generally clear, although traditionally unfiltered, an off-white to tan head. The flavor is generally, of course, very malty, although there are very wide range of malt and yeast-based flavors. Malty, sweet, caramel, toffee, toast, nutty, chocolate, coffee, roast, fruit, licorice, molasses, plum, and raisin. They can finish sweet or dry, and versions with darker malts can have a dry roasted finish. The mouthfeel is light to medium body, generally low to medium-low carbonation, and sweeter versions may seem to have a rather full mouthfeel for the gravity. Most are low-gravity session beers in the range of 3.1 to 3.8%, although some versions may be made stronger, 4% plus, and generally they are served on cask. Some commercial examples are Morehouse Black Cat, Gale's Festival Mild, Teakson Traditional Mild, Highgate Mild, Sainsbury Mild, Brains Dark, Banks Mild, Coach House Gunpowder Strong Mild, Woodfoot's Mardler's Mild, and the popular Yards Brawler. Here at Bucks County Brewery, they currently have Mild May on tap, and theirs fits right in there at 3.7% ABV. Dark English mild ale with low alcohol, of course, but packed with dark roasty flavor. This was brewed as part of Mild Month, which is a month-long event to encourage breweries to brew and beer drinkers to try this somewhat lost style. So how did you get to know about this Mild Month? I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, me neither.
I was contacted by the folks that were organizing it, and I think there was about 20 breweries that took part in it. Most of them are in Philadelphia. I think we're the only one out in the Bucks County out here that did it. And they said, we're trying to encourage people to do milds. I'd never actually brewed a mild before, and love the idea. I do love English beer.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually probably, as far as styles go, one of my favorite styles. I love going to Forest and Maine and Ambler.
Oh, yeah.
I'll head over to the Ship Inn, sometimes over in Milford.
They have vegan shepherd's pie there, by the way.
There you go.
Goes really well. Good thing to have with a mild.
That's confusing.
Well, the shepherds, they're big vegans.
Oh yeah, totally.
The dish isn't vegan. It's made by vegan shepherds.
Okay.
Yes.
But and they bring them over. No, but anyway, so I jumped at the chance just again to make a style we hadn't made before and to be able to research that. That's what I love doing. So I was very, very happy to do it. I'm very excited about it.
It's an interesting style. I think that you see the ESBs a lot, but not so much the English mild. And it's a nice traditional English style. And we recently had, was it at Second Story, where he had an English mild that he made? That was really, really fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the rare, you don't see, like you mentioned, the yards. That's probably the one that everybody knows, but you don't see it a lot. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Bringing
You're going to say
miles
something.
back.
Yes,
He was bringing lagers back. Yes. I was just going to say, I think we should go taste it now.
Sure.
Yeah.
I heard your Second Street. That sounded awesome. I mean, they took over the Triumph and really used the stuff.
Yes.
I'd love to have 17 lager tanks
I
sitting
know,
around.
and he is
He just,
taking
walked into
full
this.
advantage of it. He
I
is.
have all this.
Oh,
It
I have to
sounded
throw
like
in
it.
one other thing with Second Story. I was back there during Beer Week, but I didn't get to try the vanilla Dad's Hat Porter that they had. It was out because it went so well, but he had some of the coffee one left.
Ooh.
Oh my God, this was great. This was so good. And I thought I was only going to go in and have that. I wound up staying for like 2 hours, had so many other beers. I had the ice cream sundae he told us about.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
With the Franklin Fountain Stout beer.
Yep. If you happen to get back there, try it.
Awesome.
I know ice cream is not vegan. Just do it. I'm going to make you break your vegan edge. More.
She has cheese on.
Yeah, I've been eating more cheese.
More than
lately.
rarely.
Well, I mean, cheese is the gateway.
I know. It's the gateway drug.
It's the gateway dairy.
Let's drink some mild.
Let's get mild.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Round 2, fight.
So using what we just learned, let's take a look at this mild.
Yes.
What do you smell?
Cheers.
Oh, yes.
cheers.
Cheers. We
Thank
haven't
you.
cheersed in a while. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, sure, there it is.
So this mild has 7 different dark malts in it to build up the malt profile without increasing the alcohol.
Oh, I love the smell of this.
It's definitely malt forward, toasty. You get the grainy,
There's
subtle
a roastiness.
sweetness.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh,
It's really
that is
dark.
good.
This
That
is a
is nice.
very dark brown version.
Yes, it is. But if you
Really
look
like it. That
at through the
off-white
light,
tan
you
shade.
have an amber.
That
Very.
that mahogany.
It actually has. It's similar in color to our Irish red, which is very
Okay.
very dark until you hold it up to the light.
oh wow.
This is delicious.
Oh, wow.
I'm so glad there was some left on tap.
Oh, this is really nice. It's
You're
nice
bringing
and-
mild
Oh,
back.
thank you.
It's
Appreciate
so good.
that.
It's roasty and toasty up front, and then the subtle sweetness, but more like dark fruit,
Yeah.
raisiny
Yeah.
sweetness, and then it finishes really nice and dry.
And the idea being, you could really sit there and quaff this,
Yeah.
all day long and be
What
satisfied
it,
with the taste.
3.7?
3.7.
Holy cow.
This is a flavorful
Super.
3.7.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it drinks really easy, but there's so much going on in it.
Yeah.
Like, it
Not the
drinks
word I
easy.
thought you were going to use.
What did you think I was gonna say?
Smooth.
It is smooth.
Smooth.
Very, very, very fun beer to make.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to really. I used some dark malts that I hadn't used in any other beer before. They said the base malt's the base malt, but then there's these 7 dark malts that are stacked on top of each other to really try to give it a full flavor without increase. One, I didn't want it to be too astringent. I was a little worried about that. And 2, I wanted to have it have a lot of different things going on
Without the alcohol.
and try to make it not terribly thin either, which a 3.7 can be. So there's a little like cara in there and some things to give it a little bit of body and to try and build it up like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strong medium body, but it's so creamy. It almost like feels thicker than it really is. And I'm getting a little like nice dark chocolate coffee-ish bitterness in the end right now that I'm really loving.
Yeah, I get a hint of date, a little currant maybe.
Yeah, a lot of the dark fruit notes, and I think that bitter chocolate, I suspect, will come out more as it warms up.
Yeah, I was kind of holding my glass like this a little bit before.
Mine never
drinking
makes
it really
it. Mine never makes it to
Oh,
warm.
yours is empty, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, mine doesn't get
Dan's
to
never
warm either.
makes
So
it
you,
to
really,
warm.
you really need to pour it at the drinking temperature because it just does not happen.
Yep.
You know, as we've been going through this lineup, I've been thinking about what is the pint I want to have while we're listening to the band tonight, and I just every time I think I've made my decision.
I know.
It just gets more
Well,
complicated.
I
gets
thought
more
I had it. I
complicated.
thought I had it pegged on the first one
Yeah,
because
me
I
too.
really like the summer
especially on
solstice.
a hot
me
night.
too.
But we'll see. This is definitely a close second. I did like the jalapeno beer.
Yes, I did too. Well, I thought it was the summer. I'm like,
Words-
oh, jalapeno. Clearly,
Words I never thought I'd hear Wayne
I
say.
know. All right.
Another thing we do try to do too is I try to be very. I don't carbonate a lot. I do not like burping,
Yeah.
and I don't like drinking beer and burping a lot. So we try to hit that where it's got enough to be a little crisp, but not enough. You know, it's funny because I go out to some of my favorite breweries that I love to death, but I'll go out and have a pint, and literally I'm like, oh, here we go, burp,
Yeah.
burp,
I've
burp,
been
burp,
there.
burp. You know, and they're great. They're great breweries, and it doesn't taste overcarbonated. It kind of tends to be, you know, and I like to keep that sort of under control. Plus, we serve all of our beer on beer gas, which helps, which is a 40% nitrogen mix.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
and milds are typically served on cask anyway, so you're kind of getting that feel without it actually being in a cask.
Yeah.
That my next big tasting room upgrade is definitely hand pumps.
Oh,
I
nice.
love Firkin. I love cask. I want to do a ton of that.
Yeah,
and a lot of our
that's
beer would be great, like the saison or the vanilla porter we're gonna have. I mean, just throwing that in a cask would be fantastic.
And of course, this mild.
Well, yeah.
And the mild would be great.
That goes without saying.
I feel like that needs to be on all the time when you have hand pumps.
It would be great. It would be a great English style beer to promote. I agree. And you had mentioned ESBs. I mean, I love going into a great English pub with a killer ESB. That's just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
We're very lucky in Lidditz, which isn't too far from us. There's the Bull's Head Public House, which is just a great English-style pub. Food is great, but the beers are just, and they always have 2 beers on hand pump, and they often have English beers representing. You know, you have your IPs and your sours, and they get everything and tons of bottles, but. It's nice to have that feel, and it's a good place to go when you've been out all day, like, or after a big meal, and there's just something about a nice malty English ale like this, especially when it's on the hand pump. It just like helps, you know, goes between the cracks and just like makes you feel good even when
Cracks.
Fill in the corners.
yeah. Well, you know how you get to the point where like, oh, I don't know if I can drink a beer, I'm full, or oh, I've
Yeah.
been drinking that. It's just like it's a good end of the night beer.
I have very, very, very sensitive taste buds too, which is probably why I tend to go towards the English style beers because I mean that I love the taste of IPAs, but I get a sip and then I'm just done. I'm done for the night. I can't taste anything.
Palate fatigue.
So, yeah.
Takes over.
I think
So-
I wake up with palate fatigue.
This one, our next one, is even darker.
Yes, this is the vanilla porter. This is definitely one of our signature beers. This was the second beer I ever made as a home brewer. I only made one batch of what do they call it, extract. I couldn't stand it because again I want process. So this was the first beer I made as a home brewer, all grain, and it tasted pretty much just like this. So I haven't had to mess with the recipe.
The
too
smell
much.
of it's just fantastic.
It
Ooh.
smells like roasted marshmallows. That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
out of the aroma. Roasted marshmallows. It's
Ooh.
awesome.
Ooh. There's a really nice sweetness with it from the vanilla.
Right.
Oh, my God.
It has a punch I wasn't really expecting.
You know what would go really well with this?
Ice cream.
Root beer.
Gee, I wonder where you got
Wonder
that
where
idea.
you got that idea. Ice cream,
Well,
however,
it's
is also
nine.
good.
It's
idea.
9.3%. When I make
Holy
it,
crap.
What? Wait, what?
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
When I used to
I
make
was
this
getting
at
a little-
home, it was actually closer to 12, but I had to kind of
Oh my God.
tone it down a little bit for here. You know, make it kind of a little bit more ready for prime time. But we serve this in 12-ounce cups for obvious reasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I will not be drinking this all night.
Yeah.
This does not taste like. I was like.
Well, you
oh,
drink it with a little bit of
5%.
root beer. That knocks it down. And if you want, save a little bit, and we'll throw some root beer in
Ooh,
there.
I'm glad you said that before I finished the rest.
It was almost done already.
So you've done a lot of creative porters here.
Oh my God! But porters have probably been the style that we've had the most of. We've probably had 8 or 9 different. I love porters. Probably the most popular were the cacao nib orange that we make in the
Oh.
middle of summer. It sounds funny, porter in summer, but this is a summer beer. It's got so much orangeness. Have you ever had one of those oranges that's a chocolate orange and you kind of whack
Yeah.
it on the
Yeah,
table?
I love those.
Spot on
Oh, yeah.
that.
Oh, my God.
And what a great beer for the summer. And we also we made that for Christmas as well. And we made a cherry cacao nib porter. We made the smoked butternut squash porter, the vanilla porter we're having now. When I made our pumpkin beer, I used I think it was like 60 pounds of pumpkin for one barrel. So it was just unbelievable. And I had this huge amount of pumpkin left over when I was done with the yeast and stuff. So I took a bunch of that and I made a pumpkin graham cracker
Whoa.
chocolate porter.
Oh, nice. Wow.
That was great. That turned out really well
it's like
as
a
well.
chocolate pumpkin pie.
Well, the chocolate
kinda
came from the chocolate
thing.
malt, and that was very subdued.
So,
But the
okay,
graham
yeah.
cracker was like, I found this graham cracker extract. I saved the bottle that's been empty for like since last Christmas.
Right, yeah.
And the graham cracker smell, just as soon as you smell this, you're like, oh my God, I have to have that beer.
Wow.
So that was a
Wow.
lot
I was
of
gonna
fun
ask
too.
how you got graham cracker in it.
Yeah. It's really, really good.
That sounds awesome. I just bought s'mores Oreos today, and now I just want to go home and
I
eat
hear
them.
there's
Apparently
birthday
there's-
cake Oreos
There
now
are,
Birthday
yeah.
cake
too.
By the
Oreos
way,
now?
I got to go on a rant for a second. S'mores Oreos is the official name. Why not S'moreos? Think of it.
That's ingenious.
Yeah.
S'moreos?
Yeah.
S'moreos.
Nabisco, you can pay me now.
Makes
S'moreos.
sense.
Oh, is this it? Oh, we're getting the bottle.
Oh boy.
So this has been empty for months and months and months and
Oh,
months
here we
and
go.
months and months and months.
We're going to pass around the graham cracker bottle.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Oh, wow, that smells so good. Oh, I want to eat that. I want to eat that smell.
Holy
Yeah.
crap, that's awesome. And now Rich
and
gets
it gave
Rich
such an
approves.
authentic graham cracker flavor to the beer. It was that was so
It
good.
smells like
Wow.
it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the pumpkin was kind of subdued. The spices were subdued because it was basically in the trube, if you will, after fermentation. So I used the same yeast and everything from the pumpkin.
Right.
And I only made 5 gallons of it, and it literally lasted about a half hour.
Wow.
This
So
year
you're
I'm going to
gonna be
make
making
a
a lot
big
more.
giant
Yeah.
batch
Okay,
of it.
good.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So we'll save a little bit of this for
Yep,
later for
when
root
we get
beer.
the root beer.
And
But
let's
that
go
takes us
on
on to the rye.
Rye.
So this is the rye pale ale. Now this is rye PA. People think IPA, not IPA even a little bit.
Right.
It's a rye pale ale. So we have a golden nectar pale ale that we make, and when we make this, it's the same recipe. We take 40% of the base malt and we replace it with rye malt. So you get a little bit of that rye spiciness.
And what is the ABV on this? Don't tell me 16.
I believe this is 7.2.
7-2. I would have put it in the 6s if I had to guess.
Yeah, I probably would have said high fives.
Yeah.
High fives.
Five.
6.2.
6-2, dead on.
6.2. There you go.
I love the flavor of it.
So when I used to make this at home, I grow my own hops. I grow Cascade and Chinook hops at my house, and I always made this with my homegrown Cascade Chinook hops. So that's the hops in this, but it doesn't really come across. You don't get that
there's not a
typical grapefruitiness.
Giant,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, like citrus hop character. It's really.
And if you gave this to me, I taste a little bit of it, but I probably would be more inclined to say it had German hops in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is a slight citrus quality at the end, but maybe that's just psychological now that I'm.
I think it is.
That.
Or maybe it's just psychological.
Or
but
maybe
I
it's
don't
the
get that.
the spiciness from the rye that I'm.
That could be. Like I like
good.
that the rye, like you get the rye, but then it just kind of it doesn't overstay.
Do you catch
its
the rye?
No, but I caught somebody in the rye. I love that the rye is there, and then you get the hop flavor a little bit, and then it's washed away, and you want to go back for more.
There's a subtle sweetness that kind of lingers with it.
A little bit. Yeah.
In our IPA, there's no crystal malts whatsoever. It's literally as dry could be, and it's all about hops. And it's all about hop flavor, not bitterness. But in this, we actually have some Crystal 40 to give it just a little bit of that crystal maltiness.
And it's got a really nice color too. I mean, it's pale,
Yeah, and we
but
don't-
it's not like.
We don't use any kind of finings,
Super
any
pale,
kind of
yeah.
anything. It's the clarity is all about process for us.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Or the sin of filtering.
The sin of filtering.
If you're a large production brewery like Budweiser or
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even so. I mean,
Filter
if I was
Mr.
going to
Light.
put it in kegs and send it to a bar, I'd filter like crazy because
Yeah.
you just don't know. I mean, they could
Yeah.
have it sitting there for a month and a half.
No, yeah.
I get why people do it, but luckily we don't have to.
Yeah.
so should we pop this or should we go to root beer first? What do you think?
Ooh.
That's your call. I mean, I would probably go to root beer and finish
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
got, and then we'll.
I feel like
Yeah.
this should be like the grand finale.
Yeah, and I have no idea if this is even carbonated. So here's hoping.
So we'll
but,
find
even if it's not,
Well, we can always cut it out.
we call this monk's nectar. and it's our Belgian triple, and it was probably one of the most popular beers we've ever made. It's probably now close to 11%.
Wow, yeah.
And it aged in an oak barrel for about 4 months. So it's like it's got that beautiful Belgian banana, like it's just all over.
It sounds like I'm gonna love it.
It
Yeah.
sounds
Amazing.
I even have that one red on the board, so I can find it now.
Oh, that's there
one
you
of our
go.
most
So
used
let's
books.
dump some root beer in this and
Yeah,
see what we
let's
get.
Yes. So we're calling an audible here. We have the root beer in the vanilla porter, and I'm very excited. And I haven't taken a sip yet because I want it to be recorded for my first reaction. But it smells amazing.
Amazing.
Mark said it best.
It tastes amazing too.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Oh, you tasted it already?
Of course.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, wow, yeah. Oh.
It's
Oh,
like
that's
a
a
root
whole
beer
new
float,
dimension.
but without the ice cream.
Yeah. So it almost gets your vegan edge.
Well, we had an ice cream truck here one night,
Oh.
and ice cream floats were quite available if anybody wanted one, but nobody took advantage, unfortunately.
What?
I was actually kind of shocked.
Yeah, really.
So what sparked the drink?
So I have a crazy brother.
All right.
Is this
this is
the-
So I'm sure he'll hear
This is
this.
the point
The
where,
squash
where
brother?
Dan and I both go so do I.
Yeah. So my brother is 7 years older than me. We were both born on the same day.
Oh.
He looks like I'll probably look when I'm his age, which if you're listening to this, I'm not very happy about that. But he was here one night helping me at the bar because we were just swamped. It was last year, and all these people started coming up and saying, "I want a half and half." I'm like, well, we don't have the right stuff to make a black and tan. Like, no, the half soda, half root beer. It's like, what are you? I have no idea what you're talking about. So my brother, who was working at the other end of the bar, is like this mad food scientist. So he just mixed the root beer and the porter and loved it and started giving it out to everybody.
That's awesome.
And somebody we were literally, it was when we had the small tasting room. We didn't have anything outside. It was the middle of winter. We were packed. And someone said, put it on tap. And I said, well, we have to have a good name for it. And someone yelled R2P2. And I said, boom, done. R2P2s are on tap and flowing now. So
It's so good.
It is really good.
So have you mixed the birch beer with anything yet?
my brother did a birch beer version of this and said it was very good as well.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like the birch beer needs its own beer, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't just follow the footsteps.
Can't follow the footsteps.
That's going to be a tough one.
So now
Birch
you...
beer jalapeno saison.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge
That'd be a little
accepted.
weird. I don't know. You never know.
Challenge
though.
accepted.
You never know. Sometimes those crazy things that seem like they wouldn't work too.
Let's let Steph try it. Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah.
You're the
Thanks.
jalapeno fan.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that one myself.
All right. So
really
there
good.
is one final bottle here.
Well, it's the only bottle.
Yes.
Well, there's one final beer here, which is in a bottle.
We just started doing bottles, so I don't really even know what the heck I'm doing with them. The poor people who got the Convivium, we put a cork in it, in the bottle, and also the 365, which was our smoked butternut squash beer, and the cork did not come out
Oh, no.
particularly well.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, unless you were smart enough to actually use a corkscrew.
I've never opened a bottle of beer with a corkscrew. I've opened wine bottles with corkscrews.
Here's where
Never.
we're hoping we get that nice.
Oh, it's in the champagne.
Yeah, you got to do it by the
Oh,
way.
yeah, I got to do it into the mic.
As long as it doesn't explode all over the place.
Well, that was a little anticlimactic. Just take a whiff of it.
Uh-oh.
The banana, the bubble gum, all those wonderful Belgian yeast flavors.
Doesn't look
And aromas.
particularly carbonated, but so this is what we call our monk's nectar. We have sort of a whole nectar line of beers. We have our barley nectar, which we tried, the golden nectar, and this is the monk's nectar, which is our Belgian triple. When we made this, we actually made our own Belgian candy sugar, which was a lot of fun, but it took 7 hours just to make the Belgian candy sugar.
Wow.
So that was a 14-hour brew day to make this.
Oh wow.
But it was so much cool because when you make Belgian candy sugar, you take beet sugar, which is a form of sucrose, and you add a acid. We use cream of tartar, and you hold it at a certain temperature, and it inverts back into fructose and glucose, which ferment well in beer. Where sucrose,
Oh, okay.
sucrose turns cidery,
Right.
whereas fructose and glucose give you that Belgian kind of taste.
So it
to
sort
it.
of deconstructs or into those. Interesting.
Oh yeah, you're just definitely getting banana bubble gum.
It's got like a sweetness in the aroma beyond the bubble gum.
Yeah.
This almost doesn't need. I'll tell you what, though, when it's a little bit more carbonated, the alcohol doesn't come through quite as much.
Yeah.
Which is probably good that it's coming through.
Yeah.
Because when it doesn't,
You said this is probably around, what, 11 now?
it's probably 11 now. It was 10.5 when we bottled it.
Yeah. It is really good though.
So this is still almost sessionable.
By your standards, yes.
I'm the same way. There's no such thing for me as a session beer.
Yeah, just whatever I feel like drinking,
Yeah.
however much I want.
And I find these little 5-ounce flight glasses to be relatively annoying. I prefer the pint flights.
Yes. See? I
Pint
knew we
flights.
would get along.
Like I said earlier, I don't drink a lot. I like making beer more than drinking, but when I do drink, it's serious stuff.
It's serious business.
Yeah,
We're not fooling around here.
I tend to usually tell my wife, I'm going out for a beer, and she said, well, what time do you need me to pick you up?
That's a good wife.
Yeah, it's normally 12 or 14 later. I went with my brother-in-law, my infamous brother-in-law, who was the butternut squash guy. We went to Alaska to go fishing, halibut fishing. And we went to this town called Homer, which is at the end of Route 1, which is the only main road. And when you're driving into Homer, there's a giant sign that says, Homer, the halibut capital of the world, a small drinking village with a fishing problem. Because there's two things to do in Homer. You can fish and you can drink. It's where, the Time Bandit from the Deadliest Catch?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, they dock in Homer, so it's that far north. I mean, it's really, you go there, there's just fishing and drinking. And we went to this little bar called the Salty Dog. Mm-hmm. And we were drinking this Alaskan amber beer that was amazing. And we drank that for about 14 hours.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun. That was a real good time. So when I drink, that's what I tend to like to do. To
Was
really
that one
just
of those
sort
places you had to like not the bar, but the town? Did you have to go in by helicopter? To get,
Oh, you said it was at the end of Route 1?
We didn't. It's at the end of. If you take Route 1 in Alaska, it
goes,
ends in Homer.
Okay.
There's actually some kind of song about the end of the highway, or some famous kind of song that's about Homer. There's a hotel there that is at the end of Route. It's a beautiful, beautiful. I mean, you go to Alaska, you take pictures, and then you get back and say, "Why did I take all those pictures?" Because everything looks the same, but it's all amazing.
Yeah.
So
It makes more sense to me now why in the Simpsons movie they went to Alaska. Gotcha. Homer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they definitely got Homer going on.
I
down
think
there.
the Salty Dog might be my favorite bar name I've ever heard.
It looks like a little
really like
lighthouse.
that.
There's this little.
Salty
When you
Dog.
get to the end of Route 1, there's this little thing that they built that goes out into the Bay of something or other. You think the Bay of Alaska, but it's not. It's the Bay what's ever there, and they call it the Spit.
The Bay of Dough.
And exactly. It's about a mile, maybe about 400 feet wide and about a mile long. It's just all little stores, and there's a little lighthouse on there, and that's the Salty Dog bar. And if you search Salty Dog, you'll find it. And the entire wall and lights and everything inside is covered with $1 bills. So that people have signed their name on. It's the coolest. And it's nothing. When we were there, it was nothing but crab fishermen. We were in there, and we were all dressed in our fishing garb. We stunk like halibut.
Right.
So they just assumed we were local fishermen. So it was like one of the most awesome days in the world, just hanging out drinking with these guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Awesome.
Wow, that's
Oh,
pretty
that's
cool.
so cool.
The Salty Dog is all the way up, and it's Salty Dog. by the
Yeah,
way.
DAWG.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Makes it even better.
Yeah, this is very much like on the edge of the world.
Cockamuck Bay.
There you go.
Cockamuck.
Cockamuck. And if you ever find yourself in Homer and you're wandering around the Spit, definitely stop at the Salty Dog and tell them I said hello.
That sounds like a
know.
really dirty euphemism. That whole sentence.
Maybe that's the episode
That
title.
whole sentence.
Wandering around the Spit.
If you're ever in Homer wandering around the Spit, stop at the Salty Dog.
Longest episode title ever.
Well, you almost have to say smack the Salty Dog at that point. You got to throw that in there.
Nice. So, Andrew, thank you for having us. If our listeners want to learn more about Bucks County Brewing, how can they find you on the interwebs?
BucksCountyBrewery.com and Facebook.com/BucksCountyBrewery.
And you're on Twitter also, correct?
Oh yes, we do. We are on Twitter. I don't
Bucks
Twitter
County
all
Brew.
that much. Probably I should Twitter more. And, but I just trying to find time to do that's can be a little tough.
Definitely check out their events calendar because the events here are awesome.
And every Friday, right?
Every Friday and every Saturday now we're
And
starting to have
every
food trucks. We started doing the Saturdays because Friday got so full, and there's
Yeah.
a ton of kids that come out on Friday. I'll just tell people that straight out. And, there's some folks who, the kid thing doesn't exactly do it for them. So we
Right,
started
so they
doing it
wanna
on Friday.
Have another night.
So we started having Saturdays as well. And I'm probably going to have one night that's just sort of adult night.
Like over
I'll just
21
encourage
only.
people to walk
Yeah.
around without
It's
any clothes
Adult
on or
Swim.
something to
It's
keep,
something, yeah.
so the only kids will come out. But actually the children are great. We do love I'm a big fan of kids and dogs and stuff like that. So as long as the parents keep
Salty
an eye on
dogs?
them, and salty dogs.
Okay.
Yes, but not salty kids.
No.
No.
That
Yes.
sounds weird.
No salty kids.
No salty kids. No.
Or
And
kids.
while you're here, make sure you check out Hewn. Is that how you
Hewn
say it?
Spirits,
Hewn
absolutely.
Spirits right across. And the Father's Day event that you guys are doing together, which
Yep.
should be a lot of fun. Beer,
We-
booze, and barbecue.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. If I were a dad, I'd come here.
We were the very first, we understand, in the country brewery and distillery, craft brewery, that opened up under the same roof. It took us
Oh,
about
cool.
8 months just to navigate that one piece.
Oh,
of
really?
Because no one had done it yet.
Yeah.
So are there legal ramifications even though you guys are in like separate suites? Are they still, just because it's in the same-
if you do a web search for like Bucks County Brewery and Hewn Spirits, you'll find an article that was written about us. I think it was in Philly.com, just about what it took for us to get open. After 9 months of wrangling, we finally had to go to the local House of Representatives person, and it ended up with the PLCB telling us, build a 4-foot wall between your production spaces after 8 months.
Yeah.
We built a 9-foot wall just in case.
Just to be safe.
the feds had a problem with it as well.
Wow.
But they tried to work with us. It wasn't that they were mean. It just they'd never, no one
Yeah,
had ever
nothing
done
they
it.
had to do.
before,
And when you
yeah,
try to
yeah.
set a precedent with the government, it's just like, I don't know.
And
Yeah.
now there's a few of them popping up. I know
Yeah.
Hijinks in Allentown.
And
There's
they
a
will have
distillery in that
also
building.
the meadery all
And
in
the
that
meadery
same-
there.
Yeah,
in
but
that
if
building.
you have the same company, it's fine.
I don't know.
No,
they're
there's
not the same
different.
company.
Different.
There's
It's-
Hijinks, Colony
And then
Meadery, and
There
then
you
I
go.
forget what the
Lancaster Whacker is
Yeah.
with
yeah.
There's a distillery there.
Thistlefinch.
Yeah.
They are in the same building too.
Well, it's probably a little easier now because they actually have an idea what they
because
need
you
to do,
blazed
but
the
when-
trail.
oh
They
my
have you
God.
to thank. Yeah.
You were
It
a
was-
trendsetter.
It was brutal. It was
I
just-
can only imagine. And all that just to get, just have a 4-foot wall. After all that.
we finally had to, and it was just, and it wasn't that they didn't know what to tell us. And so it was
Yeah.
always like, we get these letters that say, there's nothing that says you can't do what you want to do, but here's some things you have to address. And it was this code that was just, didn't make, it's like, well, what about that block of code is the problem?
Yeah.
Well, you just have to address that. Address what? I mean, we'll
what is
address
there
whatever you
to
tell
address?
us. Just tell us
Yeah.
to address something. But whatever, we made it through there, and here we
Yeah.
are, and all's well. And
Cheers to you.
All's well that ends
Thank you.
well.
Exactly.
All is well that ends well. You
That's
were totally
right.
right.
a perfect segue for you, Dan.
Yes, I know. It's like the job is already done for me.
We've done all the hard work this episode.
I know.
think.
I know. I just had to sit here and drink beer. Can we just do this more
And
often?
hit some buttons.
And hit a few buttons. Like,
Fruity Pebbles.
how about that? Yeah. Well, sadly, this is the end of another episode of Beer Busters Podcast. Although it's not too terribly sad because there's still an event ahead of us tonight, but
Yeah,
I'll be sad when I
there's
go back
still
to
fun to be had.
Yeah, when I go back to edit, I'll just fondly reminisce.
And dear listener, we will be having that fun without you, unless
Yes.
you come out tonight, which
Yes.
would be awesome. But by the time you're hearing this, it's too late.
Yeah, or just come out any Friday or Saturday and bring the kids on Friday night. Why not? But Andrew, thank you for having us out here. It was
Oh,
so
I
much
really
fun.
appreciate it. This was a real blast. It
Yeah.
was awesome to meet you guys, and
Likewise.
this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. Well, I'm Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our from entertainer.
Wayne Baker.
And as usual, no squids were harmed in the making of this episode.
If you're ever in Homer,
Wandering around the spit.
Right. Slap the salty dog.
Then flip a bitch and turn around.
What?